Well, what could be a better day for you than this? Brad Stein, God's Comic, and Brad Stein Has Issues. Another Monday where comedy, Christianity, and conservatism collide in a cacophony of clarity. We have a very special guest tonight. This is special for many reasons. One, she's a friend and she's a wonderful woman. But equally important, she was one of my first original guests when we first started Brad Stein Has Issues. Her name, Victoria Robinson. Her ministry, abortion, for women that have suffered abortion and have mental and psychological torment. She has ways to help free them and to heal them. And this is very important, she has one for men as well. As you know, a couple weeks ago, we had a man who talked about the pain of losing a child to abortion from the man's side, and she's going to talk about that as well. So if you're a man that has suffered from this is a way for you to get help. She runs seminars that help men and women through this process. Victoria Robinson will be on shortly talking about her life, her ministry, and what she suffered through this incredibly bad situation known as abortion, but how it can be redeemed and overcome. Me, I feel good, I feel excited, I feel alive, and why wouldn't I? I just got back from Nebraska. Wait, what? I was in two places in Nebraska, Wyatt, and if you don't know who Wyatt is, and you should, he's incredibly important to Brad Stein Has Issues. He's my confidant, he's my sidekick, he's my producer, director, and choreographer, and often does ballet spontaneously. My son, Wyatt Stein. Wyatt, thanks for coming on Brad Stein Has Issues. I didn't expect you today.
Well, what can I say? I got bored today. I was thinking of things to do. Then I saw this weird podcast on the internet.
Yeah, I don't really hear you in your microphone. Is it on?
You don't hear me?
Well, not very loud. And maybe that's for the good. Maybe it's
okay,
God's.
Is that better?
That's way better.
Cool. I'm not sure who messed with my dials, but you know how I feel about dial messers with.
Why, did you know my first band was called Mess With My Dials?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not really sure if I should be proud or insulted by that name.
Well,
because I don't know what it means.
Well, nobody does, and that's why the band folded within 2 weeks. It was only
2
around for
weeks?
2 weeks. You know what? I lost my bass player right off the bat, which is always the case. What is it with bass players that are so flaky? Though no one is flakier than, and you would know this, the drummer. What is it about drummers? You're
Listen.
a drummer. What is wrong with you guys?
Occupational hazards.
Tell me about it. Is it the sound of the banging in your ears?
It's really more the fact that if you're behind a giant kit of really heavy things and your entire task is to bang on them like a chimpanzee at a zoo,
Yeah.
you know, injuries are bound to happen.
Yes. I find it interesting that you made it sound like this giant hunk of machinery, and it is. When you look at a bass, a guitar, and a piano, a drum is pretty complex. It's very extravagant, sophisticated, and yet it's called a kit. It's just a kit. It sounds like a little model you make with glue, airplane glue. So I think that's what throws the drummer. Hey, you want to play on a kit? Yeah, it sounds fun. Something I can cobble together for fun. And then you get there and you realize this is a monstrosity.
Well, you gave me my first drum kit.
I did.
A long time ago. You know those things are like. It's like an IKEA set. You glue it together, you gotta tune it up properly, and then you smack it with a hammer or something.
Know. Yeah, right?
That's just how it works.
Isn't that crazy? You got an instrument that you hit to make sounds. Everything else is kind of strummed or blown into, but not your thing.
Not only do you hit it, but you're actually criticized for not hitting it hard enough.
Right, or hitting it out of beat.
Yeah, or in the wrong space.
Right.
You're telling me there's only certain spots on this thing I can smack to pieces?
Right. And smack consistently. And not with a hired... For example, if you were playing drums and you're a professional drummer, you've been paid for it, that makes you pro, and you've done it your whole life, and you're very good, very talented. You can read drum music. I mean, you're beyond the typical average drummer. So, okay, but they have notations for drumming, right? They have ways that you can teach, like if you are going to play a song, they're like, here's your charts for a drummer, right?
Yeah,
and you can notes. Is there a way to say, by the way, when you hit your tom here, hit this one harder and then hit it softer?
Yeah, it's called an accent.
How do you do that?
So you, how do you denote it?
How do you
or-
denote it?
Basically, it's like a little, like arrowhead sort of thing
Okay.
above the note,
Okay.
and that denotes hit this one with extra gusto.
And by the way, what if it was extra gusto? Does the black arrowhead get bigger to show this is a kuja, where this one's kind of a kuja, and this one's a cuckoo, and this one's
Well, so that would be either a combination of dynamics.
what do you mean?
Piano, mezzo forte, forte, basically
Oh,
letters that denote how high the volume should be.
wow.
But then there's also my favorite way, honestly, of doing that,
Yeah.
which is where the music, who write the music just writes down a sentence in it. It's like, hit this one like you're plowing into a crowd of
Innocent bystanders.
innocent bystanders in a video game.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, oh, I guess I'm just doing this now. Okay.
So there's like, that's one way of, like, how do I denote this? Well, this one's really aggressive. This one's really sweet. This one's really soft.
You need to play this one like you just got the baby to bed, and you swear that if the baby wakes up, you're gonna jump out a window.
So
make
there's,
so it's soft.
so that's a way of notating to the drummer how to
Yes.
play.
Well, anyone in the band how to play.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen some crazy ones.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's
well, let me
pretty
tell you
funny.
what crazy really is, son. And I know you've been asking me about this for quite some time. I was in Nebraska. Now, you might think to yourself, are you telling me that going to Nebraska has the tendency to drive people crazy? Far be it from me to be anti-Nebraska. And I'm not. Actually, I'm a big fan of Nebraska because it's middle America. And I came from Indiana, which is equally middle America. Farm community, regular folks. And Wyatt, I did two different towns. Now, I'm going to tell you the first town I performed in, and it was for this wonderful Kingdom Coffee group, a little coffee shop by these wonderful Christian women who put it in this store in their town called Superior, Nebraska. Now, a couple things that are interesting about Superior, Nebraska. One, they put a coffee shop in there, and it's Christian owned and operated. They have Christian music playing. It's wonderful. It's got some food, some places for people to dine and everything. Kind of their Starbucks version, because there is none here. Now, Superior, you need to understand, has like 1,500 people in it. Tiny town. And yet they had the audacity to call it Superior. So apparently, in the state of Nebraska, only 15 Nebraskans have the qualities to make them superior, and only they are allowed in the town. They've obviously had to weed out a lot of people from Lincoln. Certainly people out of Omaha couldn't come in, but he called it Superior, and they have this little thing. People drive 10 to 20 miles to go to this shop because there's not a lot going on in that area. So that's Superior, and we had a wonderful show in their civic center. They had chili there. They ran out of chili. That was a big, giant fiasco, literally. I thought that this whole show, because it is a small town, would be known as the time we brought in God's comic Brad Stein, and that would be newsworthy, and they have a little newspaper. Instead, it became known as, and will ever be known as, the giant chili fiasco, because they ran out of chili. But anyways, people spent good money to come see me, and it was a wonderful show. Wonderful people. We had a blast, Wyatt. Then I drove to Wakefield, Nebraska, and I did a fundraising comedy for a prison ministry, Epic Ministries. And you got to understand something, guys. If you are a fundraiser, a Christian organization, or just any kind of organization that has beautiful, wonderful things, conservative, pro-life, whatever, I do tons of those because I help people raise money. I want them to for their ministry. It's called Wakefield, and it makes sense. It was nothing but fields. It was hard to stay awake because, Wyatt, I stayed in a farmhouse with these wonderful people who opened up their farmhouse to me. They had their own little space, basement where I got to stay in. and very kind. It was old school Christian hospitality, like it used to be, where the local pastor or not even local, the passing through missionary people opened their homes up to you. Now, Wyatt, if somebody said, "Hey, I've got something for you to do over here in this area, and you're going to stay in somebody's house," and you didn't know them, would you feel comfortable or would you feel a little anxious at first?
Well, it kind of depends on the location and how well you know the people, but typically, farmhouse in the middle of nowhere
Yes. By the way,
gets kind of.
let me add
yeah.
before you continue,
Okay.
because I think I see where you're going, and I want to give you credit because I think you're anticipating this. It was at least 5 miles of gravel road. No, they did not have asphalt. This was foreign to them. There was no painted lines. There was no sense that civilization had reached this place. It was just rocks and dirt and fear and dread and a concern. Will I be found if I end up in a ditch, or if they decide that they aren't going to release me from their grip? So go ahead. What would you feel like as you're driving 5 miles to the farmhouse you finally come across that had no typical...
What I would be thinking is, did the shopkeep who filled up my gas tank always look that suspicious? Did the animals avoid this part of the area just because they just don't like it? Or am I gonna be the main character of a horror movie again?
All I saw, son, were crows.
Oh yeah, that's horror movie stuff. Okay,
Just
yeah.
crows.
How do I know that you're the real Brad Stein? You could very well be his doppelganger with that. Kills him in the end and takes his
Just
body.
ask me a question that only Brad Stein would know, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
Okay. In some cinema snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ha! The real Brad Stein would have no idea what I just said. You're the phony.
Knew that I didn't know. Dang it! I thought I could get away with it a lot longer than the first episode.
No one ever suspects the complete utter randomness that's just meant to call you out on it.
Well, you nailed me. Dang it. All right, I'm a doppelganger. Your dad's still somewhere in shackles in a basement saying, "Please, son, come get me if you can find my place." Though you don't like to drive. You are not up. For those who don't know my son Wyatt, and if you're a girl out there longing for a companion, and you're a Christian gal who's seeking for a good man, he is, but he doesn't like to drive. So you'll have to drive him around. He'll sit in the back in a blanket.
Blanket?
Well, just so you feel comfortable, because you're starting to feel upset that you have to drive around and make a decision like, do I turn left or not?
Oh, yeah. Even though the navigation says stay on this road for the past 218 miles, I will always check every half mile. I hate
Navigation, it gets so confusing when it like says turn, and you get there and someone said, no, I meant go straight. And you're like, wait, what happened to the turn thing?
No,
Anyways.
my favorite was when we were navigating to a gig and it told us to turn left right off a bridge.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that was known as the dark GPS.
No. That was the GPS trying to get us away before we became another statistic in a horror movie.
Well, and yeah.
Just get us out of the way.
Don't follow the crows. Trust
Pre-credits.
us. Trust us. This jumping off the bridge will be much better for you in the long run than what you're about to enter.
And statistically, more survivable, too.
Amen, my son. Well, there you go. That's why you're my sidekick, buddy. You know everything. You're smart. You're quick on the draw. And you figure out your buttons by now. You still aren't using the special effects I paid for it very often, and that bothers me.
Oh, you didn't buy a special effects box that just so happened to come with an audio thing. You bought a roadcast that just so happened to do this. You know, for all the praise that we're going to get when this finally takes off and we'll be billionaires.
Well, we're going to be billionaires, son, and we're going to be billionaires because we care about truth on Brad Stein Has Issues. We care about what is real. You know, when I was in Nebraska, I was joking around about the small town. I want you guys to understand something. The small towns are the backbone of America. I love going to small towns. Are you ready for this? I prefer small towns. If somebody says, "Hey, you can go to do a small town in Wakefield, Nebraska, or in Superior, Nebraska, and you'll have 300 people, 500 people there, and you're going to help this little ministry or help this church or help this thing, or you can go to Chicago, or you can go to St. Louis." And I don't have nothing against cities. I've been to every one of them. I've been in all 50 states. I've told you that many times. I've been in virtually probably every big city in the country I pretty much have been to. So I am grateful that I've seen these things. Grateful for the big cities. They have a lot of cool things. But they are not. They are not what makes America great. It's Wakefield, Nebraska. It's Superior, Nebraska. It's Bremen, Indiana, where I was born. It's these smaller towns that still somehow aren't quite as infected by the woke virus. Now, believe it or not, it's gone everywhere. It is cancer. It has gone everywhere. Why do I say that? Some people think to me and they say, is it Christian to speak against wokeism, or should you be more tender to these folks? Well, all right, I'm going to do my best. Should you treat the wokies with respect? As a Christian, absolutely. As a non-Christian, no. Should I give them dignity? As a Christian, yeah, because they're made in the image of God. As a non-Christian, no, because they are violent and they want to take America into Marxism, whether they know it or not. Should I treat the wokies in the hopes that they repent like Nineveh and come to Christ? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, my existence in a ministry that I have become, God's Comic Ministry is the name of my ministry. It's a real ministry that I became. I didn't know my comedy would become a ministry. I just wanted to be a comedian that ministered every now and again. And God said, no, I got a whole different plan. So yeah, my purpose is to bring you to the one reality that is literally the most amazing story in human history. Jesus Christ, the Messiah predicted by the Israelites that showed up 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem. Folks, that's my purpose on earth. And I didn't know that my way of doing that with comedy was going to be a calling that is spiritually anointed. I didn't know that was it. I just thought I'm a Christian and I would just be that, but I'm a comic, and he's more and more making me not abandon my comedy. Certainly, it's what makes me unique, and certainly not abandon even my using that as a means to communicate. That's why he chose me to do it, because it's a unique way to tell God's story, and it allows it to somehow pass through the filters people put up about, I don't hear about God or Jesus or you're true and nobody else. It's a way of kind of getting past that presuppositional editing that people do. We all do when we believe something. We edit out what we don't want to hear. And it allows that truth to get into them. So yeah, I need to treat them that way. Do I want to? No. Here's the beautiful thing about Christianity that you guys need to know if you're watching for the first time. Christianity is really always exposing your natural man. One thing that Christians understand, then you should understand, it will help you see the world, at least, if nothing else, understand why Christians see the world the way we do. We are sinners. We are intrinsically fallen. Now, you might think, well, that's a bad thing. Why not say everybody's really good on the inside and once in a while they make a mistake? Because it's a lie. It's easily provable from the get-go when a kid begins to grow. I have grandkids that are here, and I've got them from all ages. Here's what you need to simply ask yourself. Do you have to teach a 2-year-old to hit their brother or to not hit their brother? Now, they're 2. They don't have a lot of life experience to start assessing, how should I engage this issue where they just took my truck? What's the natural man? They hit because we're violent. We want our way. It's always about me. Anything I am uncomfortable with, anything I don't get that I want is mine and must be treated with violence if it's breached. You have to teach them how not to. Do I have to teach them to share, or do I have to teach them to hoard and be selfish? Got to teach them to share. Do I have to teach them to listen to what mom and dad say? Don't do this, do that, clean your room, don't. Or do I have to teach them how not to listen and how to say, I don't want to do it, and run away and hide? Obviously, from the go, we're rebellious. It is the nature of man. You know, the founding fathers knew that. Do you know that the founding fathers, and this was during, Enlightenment period, they did listen to and read John Locke. They did listen and read different people of that era as to how to see and think and reason. And reason was a big part of what they believed. But the biggest influence on the founding fathers, when you read their letters and what they read and different things that they were inspired by when they made the Declaration and the Constitution, was the Bible. Now, that's simply true. Did they make a theocracy? No. Did they want to demand you had to be a Christian to be in America? No, they did not. But here's what's interesting, guys. Christianity teaches you don't force people to become Christians. It would say to you, and God did this from the very beginning, when he made Adam and Eve, I have given you everything you need to survive, to eat, to function. I've even given you ability to make other humans, yourself, and I will be perfectly leading, guiding you, and assisting you, because you have access to me right now in intimacy in the garden. I do make one rule. Don't eat those two things. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, you might think to yourself, well, what kind of a God wouldn't want us to know the difference between the knowledge of good and evil? Well, he would want us to know that. He had already implied it by saying, don't eat that. He was already letting them understand, whether they realized it or not, that there are some limits to what they're allowed to do, and he would expect them to listen. Now, they didn't sit and analyze, if I do this and don't listen to him, it's immoral, or it's a sin. These words hadn't been invented yet. But the opportunity to disobey without understanding the gravity of what that meant was given to them from the beginning. Why? So that he could prove this relationship between God and man is authentic, and it is able to be chosen to engage in or to disband, to disbelieve, or to decide to become God yourself. This was the question from day one. I'm God. I'm here. I provide everything you need, but I do set some restrictions because I make the final rules. Or you can breach this covenant and you can decide to worship your will, your desires, your morality that you create in your own mind. He put people to work, by the way, right off the bat. Before there was sin, before there was weeds, God still said, go and take dominion and name the animals and tend to the garden and make other children procreate and raise them properly and learn to listen to me and all this and that. You work. God from the beginning said, you work or you don't eat. You work or you are on charity. I'm not a charity. I've given you a partnership with me. That's how Christians apply to even things like illegal immigration. People say, I thought you Christians were supposed to love the immigrant and the other. We are, and we should be kind to them and be respectful to them. Of course, that is a Christian idea, by the way. And by the way, a Christian idea, not an atheist idea. Atheists have no ideas. They steal every moral, ethical, virtuous idea from Christians, and they pretend that we don't need God to get there, which is interesting. That's exactly what Adam and Eve did. They had access to everything they needed. It was already provided for them. And then he said, don't do that. And they decided, we'll go ahead and decide to do it ourselves. We don't need God to decide what is good and bad. We'll worship ourselves. It's, by the way, the original sin. It actually, there was a precedent for this. It happened in heaven when Satan said, I will be God. Started the whole action. Then he said, I wonder if I can get God's creation to join me. And they did. And here we sit thousands of years later, trying to wonder why there's sin and cancer and death and children and everything else. We brought it upon ourselves. We allowed the enemy to prove what he does when he's given power, which is interesting because when atheists are given power, communism is given moral action, moral absolutes, moral the moral decisions made by atheists is based on how they choose to do things, taking control of everything, choosing who gets to live, who gets to die, who gets to disagree with them, who doesn't, how you have to work, what we're going to give you. They worship themselves. By the way, they're self-elite. They choose themselves. I'll run the show. We're going to eat meat. We're going to live in mansions. The rest of you will just be like herd cattle that we're going to run through and make you do. That's what socialism is. Just give us what we want, and we will worship the state. Just make sure you feed us and give us access to education and medicine, and we'll do whatever you say, master. So it's a self-imposed loss of liberty. You give it away. You become a slave, thinking you'll be safe because safety is more important to you than success. Safety is more important to you than the dignity of self-work and self-reliance. And safety is more important than abandoning covetousness. And covetousness is simply saying what you have, if it's more than me, I want. And I want to take it from you. Not just get my own, which is what conservatism and Christianity would expect. Try to take what you got and double it. Here's 5 values. Go get 5 more. Here's 3 talents. Go get 3 more. Here's 1. Go get 1. Every time God showed from the get-go, there's a different level that certain people will have. Some people are going to have more riches than others. Some are going to have less. But he said you can still be great. You can still be at peace. You can still survive. And take what you got and double it. Don't covet what somebody else has. And that's what socialism is. Well, there's a new mayor in New York who is a socialist, and they voted for him. I'm grateful that he won. I'm grateful for he won because now we're going to see socialism in action in, I think, the biggest city in the United States. I simply believe that if you sow to the wind, you reap a whirlwind. And so I have to honestly say that I'm glad it happened because I want everyone to see in real time what happens to a city that chooses atheistic-driven Marxist socialism. I want you to see what's going to happen. You're going to see. And here's what's going to be even more fascinating. As it deteriorates, and New York is going to deteriorate, as it begins to collapse on itself, as people leave that